For the past 3 months, the pandemic has quarantined most of us who were deemed non-essential to our homes. With summer approaching, I know most of us are itching to travel again, but things have changed. Life as we know it won't go back to being quote-unquote normal again, so we have to adjust our lives to this new normal and the changes that come with it. In this video, I'll be talking about some of the changes that are happening throughout the airline industry. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Most states have opened up their bars, restaurants, beauty salons, barbershops, etc., etc. But if you're like me, you want to travel abroad. No one was fully prepared for this pandemic, which has crippled the world and has caused the airlines to reduce their routes by 80 to 95%. Now, what that means for you and I is that if you lived in Jacksonville, Florida, there used to be 12 flights a day. Now it has dwindled down to only 3. And I know you're probably thinking like, okay, well, that's cool. I'll just take one of those 3 flights. But wait, there's more. Now, I have not been able to confirm if every airline is doing this, but one airline in particular is cutting flights to secondary airports, which means if you lived in Oakland, you would have to drive across the bay to San Francisco in order to catch a flight out. If you lived in Akron, Ohio, you would have to go to Cleveland in order to catch a flight. Even if you lived in the LA area, you can't leave out of Burbank and you cannot leave out of Long Beach. You have to go to LAX to catch a flight. Even in Chicago, they cut flights to Chicago's Midway and you would have to go to Chicago's O'Hare. Now that can suck if you live a lot closer to one of these secondary airports that they cut the flights to and further away from ones where they are flying to. Not to mention the airline crew who commute back and forth to work and use some of these secondary airports to get home, and it makes their commute a lot longer and a lot harder. And commuting is hard enough with the flight loads being the way that they are. But those are some of the changes that we just have to deal with. With the glimmers of gradual return to air travel means airlines are rolling out new policies and procedures to protect passengers and crew from coronavirus transmission, and also increasing consumer confidence in air travel safety. Many airlines are requiring that passengers and crew wear face coverings, and some carriers are limiting seat selections options to allow more distance between passengers. Social distancing on planes isn't always possible or guaranteed, especially on more crowded flights. But let's take a look to see what some airlines are doing to modify their in-flight experience. All United airline flight attendants are required to wear face masks. United was the first major U.S. carrier to announce the requirement. The mask requirement was extended to United passengers effective May 4th. The carrier has also modified in-flight service to minimize touch points and has moved primarily to prepackaged foods and sealed beverages. United is also implementing changes to boarding and seat assignments to promote social distancing through at least May 31st, although being seated next to an unoccupied seat is not guaranteed. Also, on May 11th, United announced a policy change allowing passengers on flights that are near capacity to rebook on a different flight or get a credit. Now, that's nice that United has done something like if you don't feel comfortable with being on a plane that's near capacity or crowded, that you can get rebooked on another flight if there is one, or you can get a credit. Delta Airlines requires all passengers and employees to wear face masks or coverings. Delta is blocking middle seats and reducing the number of passengers on each flight, boarding customers 10 at a time, and changing food and beverage service to reduce touch points between passengers and crew, according to measures outlined on the carrier's website. Delta Airlines said on May 5th that it will cap capacity at 50% in first class and 60% in other classes. American Airlines required passengers to wear face coverings effective May 11th. This policy is in addition to an earlier announcement requiring flight attendants to wear face masks. The airline also has turned off some computers and kiosks at ticket counters to encourage social distancing. Signage at gate reminds passengers not to crowd together during boarding process. American also has reduced food and beverage services and has limited the number of passengers on each aircraft on flights through May 31st. American will not assign 50% of main cabin middle seats or seats near flight attendant jump seats on every flight, and will only use those middle seats when necessary, the carrier's temporary policy reads. Now, as you can see from the big 3, they are doing everything in their power to keep passengers and crew safe and social distancing. Even some of the low-cost carriers have changed their policies as well, like JetBlue. JetBlue was the first major U.S. carrier to require passengers to wear masks effective May 4th. Wearing a face covering isn't about protecting yourself, it's about protecting those around you, said Joanna Garrity, President and Chief Operating Officer of JetBlue, in a statement. This is the new flying etiquette. Crew members are also required to wear a mask. JetBlue is also limiting the number of available seats on most flights and regularly reviews seating assignments to maximize space between passengers. The carrier has adjusted its food and beverage services to minimize touch points, with more limited offerings in many fare classes. Now, let's say, for instance, if you don't fly any U.S. carriers, you may fly foreign carriers. They are also making changes to their in-flight experience as well. All passengers on Singapore Airlines and Silk Air flights are required to wear face masks as of May 10th, in accordance with the Civil Aviation Authority of Singapore directive. Passengers on flights to Singapore are required to undergo verbal health assessments and temperature checks. Since April 23rd, Malaysia Airlines has required all passengers, excluding infants, to wear face masks. Korean Air of South Korea is providing cabin crew with protective clothing, including goggles, masks, and gloves. Protective gowns are being provided on medium and long-haul inbound flights as overseas COVID-19 cases continue to increase significantly, Korean Air says in its outlined protective policies. All Korean Air passengers are required to wear a face mask, and the airline is providing surgical masks and hand sanitizer at the airport and on aircraft. Now, that'll be weird to see your flight attendant come in a full hazmat suit on Korean Air when you come down the jet bridge saying, "Welcome aboard." And I get it. I'm not against it because that's what they feel they need to do to protect their crew as well as passengers. So it's safe to say that all airlines across the board are doing their best to try to make sure everyone is safe and also providing a great in-flight experience as well as a safe one at that. That now that you've seen the changes in the policies and procedures, now I'm pretty sure you're like, Thomas, where can I fly? Well, according to this article that I've obtained from CNN, although most governments are still advising against non-essential international travel, a host of popular destinations are beginning to ease their COVID-19 lockdown measures and border restrictions and are moving towards welcoming tourists back. A number of Caribbean islands are preparing to open their doors to foreign visitors in June, while destinations such as Mexico and Thailand are beginning to open up region by region in the coming weeks. Now, according to this article, they have several countries that list their restrictions when they're opening or when they plan to opening and want to open to tourists. So I'm not going to read them all off. What I'll do is I'll leave a link in the description and you can click on the article and you can read them for yourself. I did read an article today that said Jamaica will be opening on June 14th to tourists. I read another article where it said Greece was opening back up, but they said they only wanted high-end tourists. And for a minute, I was like, what is a high-end tourist? And my mind completely went somewhere for a quick second, but then I said, you know what? Maybe they said they wanted high-end tourists so that they want people to spend more money so they can boost their economy a lot faster versus the budget traveler like myself. But if you're from the United States or England, you have to wait because we're not one of the 22 or 23 countries that they are allowing in anyways. Now, in closing this video, as you can see, there have been some major changes to what you've been used to if you were a frequent traveler. But all in all, this is for everyone's safety, so you can still go on your vacation, so you can still go visit family or just want to get away for a while. And I'm finna end the video there. If you're new here, please make sure you subscribe. That helps the channel grow. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And also make sure you leave a comment down below. That way you and I can engage in open dialogue. And I want to thank you all for watching. My name is Thomas. Y'all have a great day.